What is up, everybody? I am back once again. Okay, so I talked about writing in my last video, and because my book actually the book I'm writing is called Lifetime and Repeat, in case you didn't watch the last video, and it is about loving with mental disorders, so because it relies heavily upon how I handle my treatment, I actually, a little while ago now, probably back in like December, I decided to start looking up what my disorders are and making sure that I completely and totally understand what I have, and that it is, it's definitely informative, and I know that I have a long road ahead of me, so bear with me. I'm going to try to make this video as fast as possible, but, you know, just to give out a forewarning, it is sensitive subject material, so please be careful watching this video and don't report me. But I just wanted to talk about it with you guys, and, you know, for people who are going through it too, please do a little bit of research. So first off, I'll go ahead and get it out of the way once again in case you're new to this. I am a female to male transgender. I have done most of my research, making sure I'm fully aware of what I'm getting myself into. Well, okay, getting myself into, but fully aware of what I am going to do to my body, and I've done plenty of research there. And there is actually, for the life of me, his name is escaping me, but I will leave him in the description below, and if I can remember his name at some point during this video, I will mention his name. Actually, you know what, I'll do it right now while I'm talking. So, I am diagnosed with what is called dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder. That being said, it is defined as a reaction to trauma as a way to help a person avoid bad memories. It's characterized by the presence of two or more distinct personality identities. So for me, I currently, because multiple can be formed throughout time, I only have 4 right now: Nathaniel, Connor, Eddie, and Natasha. They are all real people inside of my head for me, and it is it takes its toll. It is a rare thing to have. Fewer than 200,000 cases in the U.S. per year are diagnosed with it. It can last anywhere from a few years to a lifelong thing. Also, treatment is usually talk therapy, and there is no cure. For some reason, people are completely stuck with the idea that everything can be cured. This is something that can't be cured, and like I have mentioned before, my mother, yeah, she's always like, you know, I want to fix you, I want to fix it. You don't fix this. And there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to be fixed. I am perfectly fine the way I am. Jay's Journey, there's his name. Jay's Journey helped me out a lot with some things that I was a little wonky on. So shout out to him. I will leave a link to his YouTube in the description below. Go subscribe. He is fucking amazing. Anyway, it is formerly known as multiple personality disorder. The symptoms include inability to recall key personal info, highly distinct memory variations, fluctuation with split personalities, depression, mood swings, suicidal tendencies, sleep disorders, psychotic-like symptoms. Go look it up. Eating disorders, headaches, amnesia, time loss, out-of-body experiences, alcohol, drug abuse, sleep disorders, anxiety, panic attacks, phobias, and compulsions and rituals. So there's a lot to look out for there. Psychosis would be a disconnection from reality. Lots of symptoms include like behavioral, cognitive, moods, psychological things, and speech. Tendencies, meaning like things that I tend to do to myself or around me. Self-persecution, self-sabotage, and violence, both self-inflicted and on other people. It's often confused with schizophrenia, chronic or schizophrenia is defined as chronic or reoccurrent psychosis characterized mainly by hearing or seeing things that aren't real and thinking or believing things with no basis in reality. There's a very big difference between being schizophrenic and having DID. It affects my life differently. Doctors who have... The doctor that I've heard this from, I actually... When my doctor diagnosed me, it was, my therapist diagnosed me, and then I went and talked to my doctor about it. Depersonalization, so the sense of being detached from one's body or an out-of-body experience. Derealization, feeling the world is not real or looking foggy or far away, so like tunnel vision almost, kind of, sort of. Everything kind of feels a little weird. Amnesia, it's the failure to recall significant personal information too extensive to be mere forgetfulness. I wake up some days and I have to take a minute to remind myself where I'm at, because sometimes I can't remember. So, like, I'll wake up and I'm freaking out because I don't know where the fuck I am, who I am, where, what. So, because I wake up and I'm by myself, I have to, I haven't done it yet, I put my ID, my driver's license, on my nightstand, and I put like things from my wallet on my nightstand, and I make sure that my phone is close by. There's things around the room that are like, there's a couple of pictures of me around the room, my family members, so just things to help remind myself of who I am, and eventually it'll come back to me, but it takes a while. And that usually only happens if I have a nightmare. And nightmares happen a lot. Another thing is identity confusion or alteration. A sense of confusion about who a person is, confusion, trouble defining the things that interest them in life, political, religious, or social views, sexual orientation, or professional ambitions. Alteration would be distortions in time, place, and situation. With that being said, there are some times where I can't recall things I like to do. It's only happened once or twice, not really a whole bunch. Once or twice recently, but now that I look back on my life, it used to happen a lot because I would change my mind all the time. And I also had like this nagging voice in my ear that was always like, no, you don't do that. That's not normal. Personalities in life may serve by helping the individual cope with life's dilemmas. An average of 2 to 4 personalities when diagnosed. An average of 13 to 15 while being treated can happen. I am currently not being treated. I was before I got kicked out of my house, and now I am not. So I'm kind of on my own. Environmental triggers or life events cause a sudden shift from one personality to another. Now looking back on it, when I get angry or I get upset, I kind of forget for a minute that I'm Sebastian, and Nathaniel kind of come into my personality. So, like, I know that I'm losing a little bit of control when I start to shake uncontrollably or I go quiet. So, like, if I've been talking throughout the day and I suddenly just don't talk, usually something's happened. With Connor, usually it'll be if I'm really, really depressed. Connor will be like, hey, let's go do something. And usually by do something, he means kill something. I want to stress the emphasis of I have never acted upon my impulses. So before anybody gets freaked out. Natasha comes out when Nathaniel is punishing me. They have the ability to control myself, I guess is the best way to say it. I turn into a different person. It's hard to explain, and it's weird to watch. And Eddie doesn't really come out that often. So he's more of like the voice in my head that's like, hey, it's okay, you're fine. So like he just kind of like watches from afar. most people who get dissociative identity disorder most likely psychological response to interpersonal and environmental stresses during early childhood years when emotional neglect or abuse may interfere with personality development. When I was younger, I lost my grandmother and my grandfather back to back. Well, my great-grandfather. Lost my great-grandfather and my grandmother back to back. My parents went through a divorce. I became a sibling. And just all sorts of shit was happening around me. I moved, and I got a new parent, and I got a new family, and so much shit was going on. And like, my dad called the cops on my mom one night, and then there was like, my mom and dad would fight all the time. Me and my sister kind of sort of, I mean, I got along with my sister. I mean, granted, she was only like a year old. But, like, at the same time, I didn't know my stepdad, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy, and why the fuck is he doing my dad's job? You know, and who the fuck are these people? What the fuck? So, my childhood years, right up until about maybe 13 or 14, were stressful as fuck. So, that would actually that makes a lot of sense for me to have developed the problem I'd have, because I didn't have a lot of friends either, so it was stressful. 99% of individuals who did have recognized personal histories of reoccurring, overpowering, and often life-threatening disturbances at a sensitive development stage of childhood. Age 9 and below. So that's self-explanatory. It may also happen when there has been persistent neglect or emotional abuse, even when there has been no overt physical or sexual abuse. So you don't have to be touched in order for this shit to fuck you up. I've been emotionally abused most of my life. I'm kind of used to it at this point. So I'm kind of just, you know, it makes sense why I have been diagnosed with this and why I have it. It makes a lot of sense, actually. Families where parents are fighting and unpredictable can cause kids to possibly become dissociative. My parents did fight a lot, but usually we didn't hear them that often. So a DSM-5 diagnosis, so like what doctors look for in order for it to be diagnosed, which I've been diagnosed by a doctor. 2 or more distinct identities are present within its own enduring pattern of perceiving, relating to, and thinking about the environment itself. So pretty much being a person of their own. So amnesia must occur, gaps in the recall of everyday events, important personal info, or or traumatizing events. That happens all the fucking time for me. So yeah, there's that. Must be distressed by the disorder or have trouble functioning in one or more major life areas. Working was a bitch. College, for the week I was in it, was a bitch. It sucked. Every minute of it. Disturbance is not part of normal culture or religious practices. I don't have a religion. Well, I mean, I do, but I don't. I just kind of go with the flow. I'm white. I'm a white kid from Virginia. I don't really have culture. So, yeah. Cannot be due to the direct physiological effects of a substance. So, alcohol, generalized medicine, drugs, stuff like that. So, it doesn't really happen when I'm doing drugs. And I don't do drugs, so yeah. Treatment options. It's long-term treatment is the best thing you can do. Talk therapy, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, adjunctive therapy such as art or movement therapy. I can't afford therapy, so I draw a fucking lot. Like, I think I have a piece of artwork out right now. I draw a lot. This is not the first thing I've drawn. I draw a shit ton because that's how I cope with my problems. There are no established medicine treatments, so I can't take a medication for it. And though often it comes with anxiety and depression, so med treatment for depression and anxiety may kind of help with it. My depression medicine just kind of makes me sleepy. So it doesn't really help me with my disorder. It just kind of helps me sleep at night. So that is part 1 of this lovely thing, because that's the longest one. So I will be right back in 2 seconds.